said and done. All your fiat inflated to beyond the sun. But no more because now there's a better one. And it's property. Before better than all the rest of them. It's mathematical. No more double spend. It's encryptable. Put your cash in your brain or it's wearable. A new form of wealth begins. And I want you to know, Toshi, I love to earn my digital gravy. I love to spend my Bitcoin crazy. I love to touch this Bitcoin, baby. Rewards keep coming, baby. My Bitcoin card is so shady. So send me one more Bitcoin, baby. I love to touch this Bitcoin, baby. It's time from all the heat. Constantly, my detaching blocks so securely. There's no chargeback, sign up or other fees. Bitcoin sent to me from your packages, and it feels like we've been rescued and I'm set free from the bonds of that was comedy. Irreversible, replayable, invisible, cleverly. So I want you to know, Toshi, I love to earn my digital gravy. I love to spend my Bitcoin magic. I love to touch this Bitcoin, baby. It's just time from all the heat. I like my Bitcoin Bitcoin, baby. So send me one more Bitcoin, baby. I love to touch Bitcoin, baby. It's attached to the Bitcoin. There's a lot to be scared, their words alone beats every record we've known. I show for rich bombs, that's how miners roll. And the blockchain goes on and on. Toshi got this program, and he saw the power double space. Proof of work with all the hash, making us a little cash. Miners stack this saber spin, share their answers with their friends. Silicon Valley change the block, while case carrot ran program. So you fools shorty Toshi. Loves his stadium and the glasses rosy. When the world finds out we cannot play, you'll join this party fashionably late. I love to earn my digital gravy. I love to spend my Bitcoin plenty. I love to touch Bitcoin, baby. Rewards keep coming up in Bitcoin. I love my Bitcoin Bitcoin, baby. So send me one more Bitcoin, baby. I love to touch Bitcoin, baby. It's exception to the beat.
Hey, this week I actually got the music to play, so this is exciting. Welcome to my one guest. Welcome to Judas Fly Chai, the angry Persian Michelin guy. Welcome to the show. It is another Monday night chill stream. I worked, of course, yesterday. Went down to our nation's capital to visit Uncle Joe. I didn't really visit Uncle Joe, but I probably dropped off some airplane parts for somebody who's making a deal with Uncle Joe or Congress to rip off the American people. So, fairly typical, but things have been going better. I've been dumping money into my car because it needs stuff for like almost 2 months now, and I think I'm done. Everything is done. So hopefully I won't have to spend any more money on this stupid thing for a while, and I can stop worrying as I travel hither and yon. Because it's just I spent too long in the car to like constantly worry about stuff, and maybe I get a little too neurotic. But you're like 9-10 hours at a time, and like little things become bigger things. The last thing that went was the radiator, which is the part that cools the engine down. So I went and bought a new one. It cost me $150. And this is a mechanic guy I go to that's near JFK Airport that somebody hooked me up with. Nice guy, Guyanese dude named Andre. We go there, we put it in, or he puts it in really well while I watch. And then he fills it up with the green fluid. We start it up, and it immediately starts leaking straight out of the box. Brand new, right out of the box, leaking. Made in China. Well, welcome to the USA in the 21st century. So I had to go. Luckily, the nearby location, which was not the store I bought it from, but they got a great warranty thing. Is you give them your phone number, they look up when you bought the thing. If you bought it within a year, they just replace it. The guy just came back out with a new one, and then we got it done. So that was that. So that was the last worry I had hopefully for the year. You know what I mean? And my biggest fear, one of my biggest fears all year, and this was like spring and summer because I saw just tons of fucking deer all over the side of the road, like spring and summer, with the COVID thing and everything else, and everyone staying inside. And I was so terrified that in October, November, I was going to hit a deer. It's a recurring fear that I have because the roads I travel are, especially in New York and Maryland and Connecticut and New Jersey, they don't allow hunting. So there's no wildlife control. They just run wild. They do whatever they want to do. And sometimes they jump in front of cars and you see their dead bodies on the side of the road all the time. And I don't want to hit one. I've hit one before in a car twice as big as the one I own. So now I got a car that's smaller, and I really don't want to hit one of these critters ever again. But I don't really have that much of a choice in it other than keep myself in top shape, keep my vehicle in top shape, and keep my eyes peeled. So, but October, November is the prime season for this. That's the peak season for this stuff to happen, I guess nationwide, but certainly in the Northeast. And so I made it through, so good for me. So anyway, there's the title of tonight's stream is The Wolves of Apollo, which there's a mythological meaning. In the city of Argos. There was the people of Argos were trying to decide who would be their king, and they were told to go look in a field and see what they saw in the field, and they saw a wolf fighting a bull, and the wolf ended up winning the fight. I don't know how that happened, but this is the way the story goes. It's a myth. The wolf kills the bull, and then they establish a temple to Apollo in Argos, and everything's great. What that probably refers to is probably the shift of power from Minoan Crete which is an island, of course, to the mainland power of the 1600s BC, the Mycenaeans. You know what I mean? Who probably came down into Argos, battled with whoever was there, took things over, and said, "Okay, boom, you're putting our temple up. So get rid of that bull." That's likely what it was, or it could have been Egypt. There was a big bull cult in Egypt as well, but Minoan Crete had a bull cult and used to control things way back in the day, and then they got knocked off by the Mycenaeans, which is basically their cousins. So, but the Wolves of Apollo also refers to the students of Aristotle. When Aristotle started his school, the Lyceum, he was very directly opposed to Plato and the Platonists. This is like, there was a very, very real battle between the two. And I guess, I don't know, a philosopher battle, I guess, like a rapper's battle, except everybody's wearing togas and nobody shoots nobody. But the god Apollo is the sun god and the god of like law and light and medicine and blah, 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 and every good thing. Of course, he's the god of every good thing because he's Zeus's favorite son. So he's going to be the god of all the good shit, right? But that's just the way life goes. But the idea of sunlight, you know what I mean? And the Aristotelian view of the world is something must always come from something. You cannot get something from nothing, which is what Plato thought. Plato thought there are these forms. There's these things in the universe called forms. And then we think about them. And then we try to make those forms real. And it's never perfect. But we should always strive to get closer and closer to these things that he called forms, which were not the ideas of things, but the perfection of things that our ideas can only grasp at. And Aristotle said, no, that's bullshit. All there is in the world is what we know. There's what you think about something before you do it, and then there's what you think about what you know about it after you've done it. So it's like prior analytics and posterior analytics. But you have to go out and experience the world, and then think about the world, what you experienced, and then make changes. And that's the only thing. That's the only thing that's real. So this was a big philosophical difference in worldview, and still is arguably the philosophical difference in worldview, whether you fall into one or another of those camps. When you strip your ideas down to their bare minimum, that's the camps you fall into. So, but the wolves of Aristotle were brutal. The Aristotle guys went after the Plato guys with fucking, like a pack of wolves. They sought to destroy them in every way they could. So, and that's the age we're entering into. That's very, very much the age we're entering into. And I was tweeting out some stuff on Twitter, like the Roaring 20s have started, whether you know it or you don't know it. That's absolutely true. And I think a lot of people they're still in this, haha, it's clown world stuff. You don't understand how bad things are going to get. You don't understand how scary bad things are going to get, and how crazy things are going to get. And I saw a bunch of stuff that was really good. But let's go to the first screen share. This is well, anyway, the price of, what's his name, that guy Michael Saylor did the Tucker Carlson interview. Bitcoin was $58,000, and right after the Tucker Carlson interview, Bitcoin dumped. I think it actually hit like 42,000 at one point. But let's get this up here. So when that happened, this meme popped up, and this is always amongst my favorites. Always amongst my favorites. Why is it not showing? Okay, there's that. How am I not seeing myself? Sharing. Yes, all right. There we go. I'm just pushing this crummy machine just too hard. But listen, it's Monday night. Let's chill. Let's have what is that? What is that weird flashing noise? It's not Boomer Tech. It's Metro PCS. So when Bitcoin crashes, this is where everybody goes back to work at McDonald's, and everyone's very, very, very. It's a very unhappy Pepe when the price of Bitcoin crashes. Now, to be fair, Bitcoin's bounced back from like 42,000. I think at the start of the show it was like 50, just over 50,000 again. But there's a lot of stuff going on with the price of Bitcoin. And right before Christmas, everybody expected at this time of year, we'd be like well over $200,000. That hasn't happened. Different people have a bunch of different excuses why. And I'm saying flat out, it's market manipulation, because there's never been more people putting more money into a scarce asset and less of that asset available. And yet the price goes sideways or goes down. So that's just that's in defiance of the laws of supply and demand. So that means somebody's fucking around. Someone is fucking around behind the scenes. Who might that person be, or persons, entities be? I absolutely say that is that's BlackRock and other Wall Street entities that are doing this sort of thing. So where is it? Here's, everybody knows this this doll, everyone's favorite, right? Let's share this. And as I thought about this, I have to be a little more meditative on a few things. If I meditate correctly, I get better. I'm getting better at this than I was when I was younger. So here she is, the original wicked witch of Arkansas herself, Hillary Clinton. You know what? Let me pump that up a little bit. And I mentioned this last week. But when you have people like Hillary saying that Bitcoin could undermine currencies and destabilize nations, I sort of thought about it and I was like, you know what? She's not complaining just to complain. She didn't go to these reporters thinking, I need some attention. What should I talk about? I'll talk about Bitcoin. Because all of these people are fucking retards. They only know what they're told. Somebody hands them their talking points, you know what I mean? And they go in front of a camera and they say whatever stupid shit they're going to say. And it's almost always disconnected from any sort of everyday concerns of Americans. So Hillary Clinton is being wheeled out like Hannibal Lecter on a hand truck, you know what I mean, to bark at Bitcoin. And so somebody's making her do this, right? And she comes out and she takes the script says Bitcoin bad, undermine currencies, destabilize nations. This is the woman who in Libya, right? She, in referring to what happened in Libya when Al Qaeda went into Libya to destabilize Libya, that about Muammar Gaddafi, she said, we came, we saw, he died, and then she cackled, right? So, but she's concerned that Bitcoin is going to destabilize nations, not her and the State Department and, you know, the intelligence community and their proxies with Al Nusra Front, Al Qaeda, ISIS, et cetera, right? It's fine if they do it, but this thing that, you know, they told her was a bad thing, shouldn't be doing it. But again, she's not doing this just for attention. You know what I mean? She doesn't really want the attention. You know, someone's telling her to do this, and the people that are telling her to do this are the people that don't want you to have Bitcoin. So I don't know who would listen to her. Like, who came up with the idea? Like, oh well, you know who's a good, a believable, authority on how Americans should live? Hillary Clinton. She's great. You know what I mean? I don't know who thought that one up, but believe me when I tell you that was amongst the worst ideas any of these bonehead spin doctors ever came up with. So, and then here's the other one. I can't remember if I showed this last week or not, but yeah, this is in the same vein without the celebrity cachet, right? Without the cachet of celebrity. This is I did show this last week, but just a brief reminder. European Union, Europe must ban Bitcoin or else we're going to burn up, and everyone on the planet Earth is going to die if you buy Bitcoin. So, and again, whoever comes up with this, whenever you see stuff like this, you're like, you have to ask, why am I seeing this? Like, just why am I seeing this? Somebody decided to put this in front of your face or put this out there, hoping that it gains traction or they're going to drive people towards it. You know, this story or a story like this or stories similar to this are going to pop up in your news feed, especially if you're looking at Bitcoin related content, because again, they don't want you to have this. They want to control this for themselves. I don't think they really believe it's a threat right now. They just think it's a way to make money, and they don't want any new rich people coming up to be an elite that is unapproved. Doesn't get the kosher seal of approval from the current elite. So they're going to do everything they can, and this is one they use their dopes in the media to convince people that you buy Bitcoin and then the entire world is going to burn up and we're all going to die, and it's your fault. So if you just leave that evil Bitcoin alone, then we can all live in harmony, right? We can live this wonderful life of mandatory vaccines, and you have to show a pass, to get into a restaurant or a Subway or a supermarket or whatever. Make no mistake, kids, we are at war. Bitcoin is at war with all the fiat currencies and all the central bankers of this earth. We're the only ones that are currently at war, and we're the only ones that they're fighting against. You know what I mean? We're in the trenches every day, and we're not going to let them. We're not going to let them get away with this. And they are not allocating sufficient resources to crush Bitcoin because, like I said, they still want to. They think they can capture it and just add it to their pile of wealth. But that's not the way. That's not the way things are going to work. They don't understand how determined we are. We are dug in. We are, we know who the enemy is, and we are ready to do battle with them without a doubt. Don't ever think that that Pepe will not pull that trigger when the time is necessary. And everybody who buys and holds Bitcoin, everybody who stores their own Bitcoin on a cold storage device and custodies their own money, their own wealth, is taking part in this war, like it or not. I'm going to talk more about that in a minute. But let's shift to slightly more conventional military and government news. And this, I remember seeing this, and I wanted to talk about this like a couple of months ago, but it was I didn't hunt it down, so I just did before the show. And this is another reason why people are terrified of China. When you understand part of why everyone's in the government is just absolutely shit scared of China. This is part of the reason why. And this happened last year. And I'll make that a little larger so you can see it better. News story from around this time last year. It says Navy charges Saylor with setting fire that destroyed a warship. Okay, apparently there was some sort of love triangle. He loves her, she loves him. I don't know if it was transgenders involved or queers or whatever. And someone in the Navy, they set fire to an amphibious assault ship. This was in the harbor in San Diego Bay, right? So this was not out at the ocean. This was not in the middle of the ocean. This ship was in harbor, okay, being refurbished, being refitted and made, a super duper mega ship that can fight the Chinese. However, this fire raged. This fire went on for 4 days and sank the ship in San Diego Harbor. They were unable to stop the fire, and this was with the ship in harbor. And just a quick side note: my brother, who passed away when he was 24, he took his own life. He was in the Navy. He served on a ship called the USS Quillette, which was a fast frigate, and he was in the 1980s Navy. And I remember when he got out of the Navy, he said everyone in the first thing they taught everyone in the Navy back then was that every able-bodied seaman is a fireman. Whatever your job in the Navy is, your second job is fireman, right? Fighting fire. Because the absolute worst thing you can have happen is when the ship is out at sea, is to have a fire, right? You know what I mean? There's no land resources you can call on to rescue you. But here's a situation where all of the resources of land firefighting were available, and they still couldn't stop the fire. So this is the transgender, feel good, don't ask, don't tell U.S. military. So you can understand now why they're shit scared of the Chinese and why the Russians make them tremble. I mean, we literally lost a battleship without the enemy firing a shot in our own fucking harbor. And you never heard of this. It cost, you could see I scribbled $250 million on there. The refurbishment of the ship, or the price of the ship, was $250 million. And you never even heard of it. They never bothered to show it to you, right? And things like this are happening all the time. This was another one. And a lot of the incels will enjoy this. A lot of the incels will enjoy this story because this is People keep asking me, James, how come you're not married? James, why aren't you married? This is what you're likely to find. There's a NASA astronaut, okay? Her name was Serena Oron Chancellor, who drilled a hole in the Soyuz space capsule that was docked with the International Space Station because she wanted to go home. Okay, when you've got to have when diversity meets reality. Okay, there you have mentally unhinged females literally putting everyone's life at risk because they're having an emotional moment. Bitch, get back in the fucking kitchen and start making sandwiches. And I mean like yesterday. Like fucking yesterday. But this is gonna continue. This is gonna go on and on and on and on. But yeah, this is happening at the highest levels. And it's being hidden, but I assure you it's happening in the middle levels, it's happening in lower levels. There's a lot of bad things happening that you aren't seeing, and it only gets worse, and it's gonna get worse until they can't hide it anymore. So where's okay? This is maybe hold on. Let's just go with this. Let's go with this. This one, this is a great. I thought this was a really good visual. You were the only viewer. Yeah, you may be the only viewer, Judas Fly Chai, but others will show up. The problem is, it's Monday night, 9:30. I'm trying to like stream earlier and more people to show up. But I still get like 40, 45 views on every video. So not everybody has Monday night available. Plus the holidays are coming up, right? Or at least the Christian holidays are coming up. And that's that. But you have to also, Judas, listen, if you got to keep doing the show, you got to keep screaming into the void, because if you don't scream into the void, you won't be able to actually build an audience. But I'll get feedback from this. All right. Here's a great visual. This is the 1 ounce U.S. gold coin in 1933 was $20.67. 1 U.S. gold coin in 2020, less than 100 years later, $1,770. That's a good visual for inflation. Hanukkah is concluded. Well, yeah, I've seen the Chabad guys driving around with the menorahs on top of their minivans and stuff. They're all over the tri-state area. There's menorahs everywhere. They're in front of airports. They're in front of police stations. Everything that the elites want to stamp their mark of victory over has a menorah in front of it. You know what I mean? So that's a lot of schools. That's airport. That's all the airports in the area. State police barracks, stuff like that. I've seen that. A lot of that's ton of that in Jersey. It's on like the entrance to like the Garden State Parkway, like the toll highways. It's so completely retarded. But they have the dominance, and they want to demonstrate. They want to do their dominance display, and that's how they do it. They put those things up all over the place. But this is the effect that they have. This is inflation, right? One ounce of gold in 1933 was $20, right? Today, $1,700. So that's this isn't getting better. This isn't going to get reversed. This isn't going to get reversed. And it's all the same people doing it. It's all the same people doing it. Who are the people? Who are the people? These are the people. I'll do this in relatively quick succession. Hopefully. This is the classic. Let's go with the classic one. I admire. Don't we all just love the classics? Don't we all love the classics? This is kind of a statement of the blindingly obvious, but from the old Soviet Union, the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, the clenched fist of communism. You've seen that one before. Nothing new there. But wait, there's more. But wait, there's more. And you've probably seen this, but it's nice to look at it back to back to back. People have a tough time understanding or thinking clearly about things anymore. There's so much going on from hitting you from so many different directions. It's tough to remember what's what. And of course, Black Lives Matter just happens to be the exact same thing as the communist fist, right? And you say, well, that's not a particularly big surprise. And no, it's not a big surprise, but it should help focus your mind on who's doing what. And then the third one, and I just saw this one. This is, where are we? You click there. And where is it? Where is it? There we go. I might have made it slightly too big, but let's see. Again, none of this is going to be a real big surprise, but just a reminder: who's doing what, who is running what show, right? There it is. There's the digital fist. What a surprise! Huh, Goy? From Bolshevism to Black Lives Matter to, digital spying, digital authoritarianism. There it is. They just have to tell you. And if you have eyes to see it, you can see it. So I guess let's take a moment here and talk about, there was a thing that happened over the weekend. Those guys, the Patriot Front. The Patriot Front went and did a march on Saturday in D.C. So they all got up and dressed up in uniforms and they carried flags and their banner and stuff. And everybody was like, oh, they're all feds. And to be honest, that was my initial reaction. I was like, oh, they're feds. And then a bunch of people on Twitter pushed back against that. Like every time people get together, like white people get together, they have to be feds. And so I thought about it. I was like, okay, how do I think about this? Like, what's a clear way to think about this? So I go back to Charlottesville, which everybody knows I was in. But what was Charlottesville? Charlottesville had a big social media buildup, right? There was an event. Law enforcement was there. A law was broken. This is an unlawful assembly. And then there was an attempt to create chaos and a lot of crimes so that those crimes could be prosecuted. Now, it didn't exactly work out the way they wanted, but that was the template. January 6th was the same thing. The QAnon phenomenon, a big online operation to pull people in. You have to come to DC. The storm is coming, blah, 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 blah. They brought all these people in, and there's video of the cops literally leading them in, right? And I showed that, where they stayed inside the velvet ropes as they walked along like tourists touring the Capitol. Then a crime was committed, right? Well, the crime was the federal police shot that Ashley Babbitt woman, that Air Force veteran. But crimes were committed, and then all these people were prosecuted. So that's kind of the template. Online buildup, the event occurs, a crime occurs, a federal crime occurs, and then there's consequences to these evil terrorists. And so I was like, okay, what happened with this Patriot Front thing? What did they do? Nobody knew this thing was going to happen. It came out of nowhere. They went, they did their thing. They apparently used Twitter in a fairly clever fashion. They used an account that with a AI generated face, and they would tweet it to a bunch of blue check journalists to look at this outrage, and those blue check journalists amplified the message, of course. And then they shut the account off and stuff and made it look like an op, and it got everybody all excited about it. So they were pretty clever how they got it out. But at the end of the day, it was just a bunch of white guys in the same, like dressed the same, and they walked around with the flag, in the beginning of December in Washington, D.C. Okay, like, all right, whatever. I'm not sure what good it does. Most of the extreme right people I know are not patriots. They consider patriots or conservatives retards. They're not Constitution people. They're not America people. They are, in terms of the wolves of Apollo versus the Platonists or the Neoplatonists. The Aristotelian view is something must come from something. Whatever the next version of America is going to be, whether it's still going to be called America. It's part of it comes from here, right? The way you come from your mom and your dad, you're not really your mom, you're not really your dad. You're kind of a mix, right? What America is going to be in the future is part of what America was in the past and part of what America is today. So most of these fringe right people who already hate America, they imagine, like the followers of Plato, that something new, something beautiful and right-wing authoritarian is going to come from nothing. They imagine that something is going to come from nothing, and that's just not the way it is. Everything is built on what came before. Everything, I don't give a shit whether you like it, you don't like it, is built on what came before. Okay? Something came before what you know, whether there's good evidence to show what the steps are or not, you'll have to see. But, and sometimes there isn't, sometimes there isn't. But something always comes from something. You cannot get something from nothing. So America 2.0 is going to look and contain parts of America 1.0, like it or not. So these Patriot Front guys, I don't know. I have no idea what they're about. Nobody over 35 is allowed to be in the Patriot Front. I don't think there's like no Jews, no blacks, no women, no whatever. So that's good. It's a bunch of white dudes getting together and doing something. And as long as they don't Fed post or break any laws, who cares? You know what I mean? If they want to torture the leftists on social media, they want to troll people, IRL, pop up here, wave their flags, and get in their rental trucks and drive away. Okay, insofar as it goes, I guess it's a fun troll, something that young people are likely to do. But in the long run, I don't think it does nothing. It changes nothing. It means nothing. Good for them, but Merry Christmas, boys. Now go shovel some snow and get ready for the new year. But so here's America 2.0, and part of how I think about things is I just look at what's going on today, and I try to think like, well, what's it going to look like 5 years from now, 10 years from now? I mentioned this in the past. If you want to buy real estate, there was a development in Texas. It was 1,125 single-family residences. The entire development was bought by the BlackRock company. They bought the whole thing at 25% over market value. Just boom. Every one of those units, we want. And they're going to turn it into BlackRock housing, and they're going to make these single-family homes into single-family rentals. And BlackRock has an agreement, a renter's agreement, of course. We got 2 viewers, so you're not the only one here, Judas Flychai. But if you look in the BlackRock renter's agreement, you are not allowed to keep or store firearms in their properties. You say, well, how can they do this in Texas? Because firearms are legal in Texas. Okay. Well, you signed the agreement. You know what I mean? You signed the agreement, and you broke the agreement. So they can't strip you of your constitutional rights, but they can make you homeless. They can kick you out of their rental unit because you were dishonest. You brought a firearm into their rental unit when you signed that agreement. This, by the way, this is a training gun, a real gun. you brought a firearm or stored a firearm um, in their rental unit, and you broke their agreement. So you know what? And they're a private company, and private companies can do what they want to do, right? Google can wipe out your channel. Twitter can get rid of your account. Whatever, the various different platforms, because they're private companies, they can deny you your civil rights. So Google can deny you your First Amendment right to free speech. BlackRock can deny you your Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms. And I'm sure there's some other companies that are going to deny your Fourth Amendment right to privacy. And the courts are going to uphold it, right? The nature of these big, rich, powerful corporations is the courts will uphold us. They will find, you know what, that's legal. Yeah, you can do that. Except that's going to set a legal precedent. And again, this is not going to happen tomorrow, but this is what I think. This is what I think is going to happen in the future. And I'll try and describe this. I was talking about this a little bit last week. Somebody's going to do what BlackRock does, right? But with Bitcoin. So what is that? They'll make, let's say it's a not-for-profit corporation that buys a bunch of real estate. And they're going to call themselves the Consensus Community Corporation. So what does that mean? I mentioned that Bitcoin had a software upgrade recently called Taproot, where 100% of the companies that mine Bitcoin had to vote on whether or not this upgrade called Taproot should go through, right? The biggest software upgrade in Bitcoin in the last 4 years. And it had to have 100% agreement or it didn't go through. So the people who developed it took years to develop this very carefully and had to figure out what the benefit to the miners would be, what the benefit to the developers would be, what the benefit to the holders would be. They had to find a way to make sure that their upgrade benefited everybody and made it clear in their code, right? Anyone could check it. And then they presented it, okay? And it had to get 100% approval or it doesn't go through. So taking that concept, right? We're going to hang everything on that concept. Consensus. It's like democracy and it's kind of like communism. But it's not really democracy and it's not really communism. So somebody buys a community like BlackRock does, right? Or maybe they decide to create one, 2 people, 10 people, 20 people. Now, it's going to have to be legal in the United States. So you will not be able to exclude people based on race, creed, or color, right? But you'll have to buy into, right? Like buying a share of a company, like buying stock, like buying bonds. You're going to have to take, let's say, 1 million Satoshis, right? Which every Bitcoin is 100 million Satoshis. You're going to have to put up out of your own pocket into a large multi-sig wallet or multi-signature wallet, 1 million Satoshis. And then you can live in this community. Now, there's going to be rules and you have to follow the rules. If you don't follow the rules, there's going to be penalties. There may be 1 or 2 freebies, but mostly if you don't follow the rules, they're going to punish you. The punishments will be you lose your Bitcoin, and this will happen automatically, right? This is going to be in the software that you send your Bitcoin to, right? So let's say the rule is no loud noise, no parties after 9 p.m., no loud noises after 9 p.m. But it's your birthday and you get out of line, whatever, and you know your neighbors complain. All right, maybe the first time they go like, listen, don't do that again. But if you do that again, right, just automatically, you're going to lose 5% of your Bitcoin. And where's that 5% of your Bitcoin? So you had 1 million Satoshis. Now you only have 950,000 Satoshis. Where did those other 50,000 go? They went to everyone else in the community. You fucked up and all your neighbors took part of your wealth, right? You break rules, there's a consequence. You lose your Bitcoin. automatically, and it goes to your neighbors, right? This keeps you obeying the fucking rules, not because you love the rules, but because you love your fucking money. And this community that you joined, you may someday have to unjoin for whatever reason, but there'll be rules to get in and rules to get out, right? So every time you can propose any change you want. You can, if you're Jewish and you go, I think there should be a fucking Hanukkah menorah in front of every house on Hanukkah. And you know what? Jews are only 2% of any population. If 98% of the people vote against you, you don't get it. You know what I mean? If you propose the same thing next year, well, you used up your one free shot and you don't get it. You not only do you not get what you propose because you need 100% agreement, not only do you not get what you propose, but you get fined. And your neighbors get paid for your insistence on doing something that nobody wants to do. Now, that's a type of community, and there would be no discrimination on race, creed, color, blah, 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 blah. But I guarantee you this, a corporation or a community like that, a consensus community, would be overwhelmingly white. Because white people are really good at following rules. There'll be some Asians in there too. But this is how it would work. And the legal precedent is going to be set by Google being able to deplatform you, Twitter being able to take away your First Amendment rights, BlackRock being able to take away your Second Amendment rights. God knows whatever Amazon's going to sell your privacy, like, whatever you order from Amazon Prime, right? You'll have no privacy there. And that they're a private corporation. They can do what they want to do. The courts will uphold those precedents. And then Bitcoiners who are engineers at heart, or they think like engineers, will engineer solutions to how to use that for their benefit. That's what's likely to happen. You say, why the fuck would anybody do this? Why would anybody give a shit, and why would they do this? Well, I will. Let's see. Here's why. No, not that one. Not yet. Well, this is as good as any. Here's one of three, and this involves our diversity friends. The world is going to get crazier and crazier and crazier. And everything you're seeing now that is freaking you out, I got to tell you, this is the preview. This isn't even the main. This isn't even the main attraction. Here's the story. Georgia mom says Rittenhouse, meaning Kyle Rittenhouse's bad parents, are to blame. She is then killed by her own son on Thanksgiving. That's a real news story. That really happened. These are the people, right? Story posted by Jeremy Porter on December 3rd, just the other day. So, these are the people you're going to try these irrational lunatics, these insane, divorced from reality psychopaths who are murderers and drug dealers and rapists and everything else. And when you realize you're stuck living with them, unless you change your US dollars to Bitcoin and agree to these Bitcoin rules, well, if you listen, you don't have to do that, right? But you're going to have to live with these people otherwise, right? And you don't want to live with these people. You really, and I mean fucking really, don't want to live with these people. You don't want to be anywhere near them, okay? And you will agree, and if you put up your own money, put your money where your mouth is, and you agree to a set of rules, and if you break those rules, you are punished economically. I promise you, you will police yourself in ways you have never policed yourself before. And something like that, you go, oh, well, whatever, a couple of dindus, kill each other. Who particularly gives a shit? Is this the one? Yeah, well, I might as well use this one. I also got this from Twitter. This was maybe the best. And when I talk about the roaring 20s have begun, this is what I'm talking about. So the Twitter account is Rebs, Rebs Brannon. It's a female. A female posted this. This is a screenshot of a video. Okay. What we have here is Didn't Do Nothings, a good boy who's just about to turn his life around, walking through a parking lot in the snow with an AR-15 rifle, which he had fired into the air. And then he's breaking into him and another Dindu are breaking into cars and stealing shit and driving away. Now, the woman who took this video, she called the police in Minneapolis. They just didn't respond. They literally did not respond. She says they looked at her, but she pretended like she was eating her Big Mac or whatever, and they ignored her. And this is, you're not going to want to live this way. Now, Minnesota has open carry. It's legal to openly carry firearms, but you're not allowed to discharge them. You're not allowed to just shoot into the air whenever you want. And I'm pretty sure you're not allowed to break into people's cars. So you have 85 IQ Dindus behaving in like 85 IQ Dindus, and the police aren't responding. It's not like the police are exhausted from 5 days of rioting, or the police department has been taken over by the federal Department of Justice because of corruption or whatever. They're just not responding. This is in Minneapolis. There hasn't been any. I circled the AR, the AR that the guy's holding. This is the middle of the country. This is Minnesota. This is Viking country, the white Swedish, whatever. Okay. You have drunken Negroes shooting AR-15s into the air and breaking into cars, and the police aren't responding. Do you want to live this way? The answer is no, you don't want to live this way. So you're going to run into the arms of BlackRock, right? Which will keep these people away from you, but they're going to strip you of your constitutional rights. Or you'll go the Bitcoin way, which is a very, very different way, all right? It's going to be a very different way. But security is going to come to you, or you're going to seek it, because the government, and in this case, look at this, the government cannot provide it to you. The complete and utter failure of the police department, of local government to control violence and insanity is going to become more and more and more apparent. 2022 is coming. The roaring 20s are going to roar like a motherfucker. It's going to be similar to, but not quite the same as the 1920s, the 2020s. I'm telling you, this is not getting any better. This isn't getting any better. And what I try to tell people, you need to look at this, what's really happening, and then figure out what you're going to do. You know what I mean? And maybe you're just going to close your eyes and hope it all goes away. Okay, maybe that's what you're going to do. But I suggest you take a more practical course. But whether you're a practical person or you're not a practical person, there's nothing. There's very little I can say that's going to affect you, right? Very, very little. But what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to try and put this information in front of you, and you're going to take a look at it, and you're going to dismiss it or whatever. But for me, I get to think, well, I did my part. CNN Business, this was from today or yesterday. Why inflation can be good for everyday Americans and bad for rich people. This is the level. This is not news. This is Pravda level fucking propaganda. Like, my God, I remember when I was a teenager, I was like, how did people live in Russia? How did they live knowing that the government and everyone was lying to them, the exact opposite of the truth? Well, I know now. Now I understand. Now it's all completely fucking clear to me. Completely 100% clear to me. Okay. So what a Bitcoin community is going to look like is going to be very different. Like you're going to have to remember what it costs to police shit and what it costs to do shit. So a lot of stuff's going to be automated. There will be perimeter alarms, different things. If you have uninvited guests, that's going to trigger an alarm. You know what I mean? You will not be able to do that without paying a fine. And that, again, you're going to be paying your neighbors, right? It's not a random fine to a government far away. Literally, you're going to be paying your neighbors. And when you're, like I said, let's assume it's 1 million Satoshis to maintain your status in the community, right? So if it drops down, you got to build it back up. You can't say, well, I had the 10% fine, I'll just cruise along at 900,000 Satoshis. Nope, you're gonna have to repay that at whatever price Bitcoin is at the time. Okay, so in terms of authoritarianism, this is super authoritarian. Okay, it's not like the government's going to come get you instantly. The money you've already put up in advance will be fucking gone, and it will go to your neighbors for the outrage that you've caused. And depending on what the outrage is, you know what I mean, you may end up getting fucking bounced entirely. You know what I mean? So that keeps you in line, and that takes all that crazy, neurotic fucking let me fucking argue with my neighbors for no reason energy and fucking rechannels it to something else. Bake a cake, run a marathon, whatever, to write your memoirs, you know, whatever it's going to be. But you start fights with your neighbors, that's going to cost you money. You leave fucking trash out the street, that's going to fucking cost you. It's going to immediately, not, next week, that fucking fast is going to happen. And you will modify your behavior so that you don't fuck with your fucking neighbors. Because the biggest problem, and arguably one of the biggest vectors of destroying white America for the elites, is they use the courts to attack people's homes. What was it? Shelley versus Kramer, where the blockbusters, where they moved black families into white neighborhoods. You know what I mean? To break what were called homeowners association covenants, all right, which were explicitly racial. The Supreme Court ruled that that's against the Constitution, so you aren't allowed to do that. This will not be, like I said, what I'm describing, a consensus community. There will be no discrimination based on race, creed, color, blah, 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 blah. But what you're going to find is if you have a bunch of queers that, I don't know, create a disturbance late at night, you know what I mean? They'll be fined. They're like, you know, they want to parade around in their fucking feather boas and high heels in a public street in front of children. Boom, there's going to be a fucking fine, and they will lose money immediately for doing that. They complain, you know, you can complain all you want, you know, but you lost the money and it's not coming back to you. Do it again, you lose even more money. Do it again, and now you're out. You'll be broke. And they will have the ability to kick you out because it's a private corporation. All right. There's a way to structure this. There are ways to structure this. People will think in advance, you know what I mean? And you will sign up and you will agree. All the courts recognize this. If you sign it, you agree to it. Okay. And you go, I didn't know all the rules. You know, there's a 3-day waiting period. There is a way to make this fucking happen. And like I said, after your first fucking, let's say you got a couple of homos and they're whatever. They parade around the feather boas and they get whacked 15% of their Bitcoin. And they're like, holy shit. Okay, we're not going to do that again. Well, they have to work hard to get that Bitcoin back up to 1 million Satoshis. And that keeps them fucking occupied. Keeps them the fuck out of your hair. All this, remember, has to be legal within the framework of the U.S. Constitution. You know what I mean? Because everything comes from something. You cannot get something from nothing. It just isn't possible. It is not possible. So that's my vision of the future. That is what's likely to happen based on what people want, what people are capable of doing, and a way of engineering your own safety. okay? Engineering a life that you want. How much pain is there between now and then? I have no fucking idea. But that's what's going to happen. And you can cry that it's too intrusive, and you can cry that it's technocratic and it's soulless, and no one's going to give a fuck, okay? You can cry to that fucking dindu with the AR-15 and see how much sympathy he gives you. You know what I mean? Cry to him. Or cry to the kid that killed his mother on fucking Thanksgiving. You know what I mean? Because he was done raised right. Okay? You cry to them. And see where it gets you. All right. You aren't all of the bullshit, all of these fucking petty things that, these fucking molehills that you make into mountains, fucking gone like that. Fucking gone like that. And the successful versions of these communities will grow and grow and grow. And they'll just take shit over. You know what I mean? And that's just what's going to happen. That is just what's going to happen. And believe me, this will fix tons and tons and tons of fucking problems. And tons of problems. But between now and then, we might see this. We just might see something like this. I don't think it's going to happen soon, but I think it may happen. And by the way, Judas, I don't know what you're seeing on your end, but I'm seeing the number of viewers flash between 3 and 0 constantly. So even though nobody's posting in the chat, there may be some lurkers here, right? When things really start spinning out of control, this is what's going to happen, right? The U.S. Federal Reserve, like I showed you before, with the dollar worth 1 ounce of gold is $20.47. Now worth $1,700. Same thing here. The Fed is going to kill the value of the U.S. dollar. They're doing it now. They've been doing it. And then will they try and blame Bitcoin? Oh, absolutely. They'll try and blame Bitcoin. They'll run out of things to blame. They got to blame somebody else. There's no way they're taking responsibility for it. Okay, that's not happening. They are not going to take responsibility for it. But this day is just not quite gone yet. It's not quite here yet, but yeah, it's coming. It's absolutely coming. And if you think it's not coming, you are not paying attention. Best thing, really, one of the most fun things I just saw in terms of the narrative not working out in their favor. The top 4, it's really the top 4, but technically it's 3. The top 4 champions in boxing are all white guys, right? Tyson Fury is the world heavyweight champion. Alexander Usyk is the light heavyweight champion. Tyson Fury beat Deontay Wilder, a black dude. And Alexander Usyk beat Anthony Joshua, a black dude. Okay. There's Canelo Alvarez, the world's whitest Mexican. Canelo Alvarez is so fucking white, he makes me look like a fucking Arab. Canelo Alvarez, middleweight champ, who's super pale with red hair. Technically, he's a Mexican. And just the other night, George Kambosos Jr., a Greek Australian, beat Teofimo Lopez, who's a proper Mexican. So all 4 world titles in boxing are now held by white guys, and nobody's allowed to notice that. That's the beautiful part of the shit you're not allowed to notice is that white guys now dominate the boxing, which is still the creme de la creme of fucking combat sports. I don't care what anybody says. That UFC stuff is cool. I watch it. There's some great fighters there, but boxing has stood the test of time. Boxing has been around. There were depictions of boxing in Egypt in like fucking 2700 BC. Boxing's been around for a long ass fucking time. So all 4 world champion boxers are white guys. And you're not allowed to notice that. There's a lot. They're losing. The narrative is fucking. They have to double up, triple up, quadruple up on the fucking narrative because the reality is people, you know, people are just going, I don't understand what's wrong, but uh, a lot of, to be honest, a lot of good things happening. White Boy Summer is now turned into whatever the Caucasian the Caucasian fucking parade of guys who probably cannot be beat. And by the way, that Cambosis Jr. versus Lopez fight was brutal. They're both lightweights. Lightweight boxers throw punches at insane speeds. That was a crazy fight. That was like super high action fight. So yeah, they've largely lost the plot, and they're going to continue to lose the plot. Obviously, they put Biden in there, and everyone knows what a comic show this is going to be. We're at the end of the first year of Biden. By the way, I stopped a couple of times in the last couple of weeks. I stopped in diners like in Astoria, Queens, and they all have they have the signs up. You can't come in without a mask, and we're going to ask for a vax pass and whatever. Nobody's doing that. They have the signs up, but nobody who runs a fucking restaurant is asking for any fucking thing. You're willing to come in and pay for a fucking meal? Come here, sit down, tell us what you want. You know what I mean? The guy I was talking to was a little bit older than me. He said he came to the U.S. and it's a Greek guy, of course. Runs a diner. Came to the U.S. in '76 from like Central Greece, and I was talking to him, and I said, you know, because like the coffee in America, in New York is so much better than Jersey, so much ridiculously better, and the food is better. So I said, man, you know, sometimes I wish I lived in the city. I said, because he said this fucking. He looked at me, and said, the city is destroyed. They destroyed the city. And I said, yeah, I know that. I said, but the food is still better here than it is where I live in New Jersey, you know. But this guy, he was broken. Like he'd spent decades here, family, built the fucking business, blah, 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 blah. It's the Neptune Diner right there by the foot of the Triborough Bridge. Really like a shot. It doesn't look like much on the outside, but the food is like, boom, A+ the whole way. But this guy, he looked broken. Like, I think, you know, like a lot of people from New York, they took pride in being New Yorkers. They took, like, you know, you always took pride, like you were part of something like special and big and dynamic, you know, and that you contributed to that. And the city is just so badly beaten these days. And now I don't know what the fuck, whatever De Blasio said, we're going to preemptively, everybody has to get vaxxed by whatever. Listen to me. All private companies have to be vaxxed. That's all bullshit. Ain't nobody fucking doing that. Nobody doing that. They're insane, screeching communists nobody is listening. Nobody is listening at all. Not even out here, you know? And so that's good. But once things, the plus side is they're going to end this fucking stupid vax shit. Like they're not going to be able to maintain it for like 3 years. You need 27 boosters of blah, 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 blah. Like nobody buys this anymore, right? So, and I saw, as a matter of fact, I was on the Garden State Parkway a couple of days ago. It's a big red SUV. And I look at there was a bumper sticker, I don't know, 8x10 that actually said, it said, F you, like star, fuck your vax mandate. And so I was like, oh, who's that? Like, it's a brand new, big, fucking shiny red SUV. And I pull up alongside, and there's like some fucking 50-something housefrau in the passenger seat. And her mom, who's like a fucking 80-something fucking grandma, you know what I mean, driving this thing. So I pulled right alongside, and a woman looks over to me, and I give her a thumbs up, and she gets all excited. She's like, yeah, whatever, gives her a thumbs up. She's like all excited, and she's telling her mom, like, look, they're happy about the bumper sticker. So, and these were like the normies of normies. These are like the most. I would not describe these women as they're not political activists. They're just like middle class American housewives who are like, no, we're done with this shit. So the overreach is real. No one is complying. They have no way of enforcing this. Every vax mandate for every company has fallen apart. For the airlines, for everything, it's all falling apart because you don't have enough workers who will actually do their fucking jobs. And the ones who can do their jobs, you don't want to push them out because literally the rubber is meeting the road. Like the people who are willing to show up and do their jobs with competence, right? If you lose them, you literally go out of business. And everyone's like, you know what? I'm going to look the other fucking way. Everyone's going to look the other way until all this whole fucking thing goes away. So that's true out here with the most sheepish fucking compliant leftist population you can come up with. And I'm sure the further west you go from here, until you get to California, of course, the more fucking people are like, we ain't fucking doing this. We did not even bother doing this. However, like I said, once the government starts losing control, it's just going to lose it. You know what I mean? And they're going to I really think they're going to put the guy Ron DeSantis in the White House to try and clamp down on things, but it's just not going to be possible. It's going to be fucking possible. And then you're really riding the tiger. You're really going to be riding the fucking tiger, and you ain't going to like it. You're not going to like. You're going to be in a situation where you're going to be afraid to leave your fucking house for your physical safety, and you're going to be like a neurotic lunatic staring at your fucking phone, watching all the madness is going to be piped into your head anyway. So it's going to be bad for you. It's going to be bad for a lot of people. And if you don't have good habits in place, like stay away from hard drugs, keep your alcohol relatively under control, exercise a lot. Probably the best method for dealing with stress you can possibly come up with, because the side effects are all good. The side effects are you being healthier, stronger, et cetera, et cetera. Whereas the side effects of this and stuff stronger than this is potentially negative, right? It is potentially quite negative. So what else did I have notes. Of course, I always have notes. How much did I spend on? I probably spent, I don't know, 10 or 15 minutes on notes. But I think I covered everything. I think I've actually officially covered everything. So where are we? We are 1 hour, 14 minutes in. Judas Fletch, I know you think you were the only one here, but there were two other people here that they're not posting in the chat, but they are they jumped in and out. By the way, Judas, just real quick, did you see me on that show, Politically Provoked? Yes or no? Let me know, because I was like a complete psycho on that one. The closest thing I've got to blood sports, me versus Duvid versus some other guys. Again, kind of a rematch. That was kind of fun. But it was November 14th. If you find them on BitChute, November 14th, pop on, drink and chat. Please send it to you. All right, Judas, I will. See, let's see if I can do this live online. This will be exciting. Let's see. I got to find other people I sent it to and then copy it. Right? Isn't that what I should do? Blah, blah, blah. No, that's inflation. All inflation related stuff. Go through everybody. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? I'm looking, Judas Flychai. Judas Flychai, I am looking. I'll tell you what, let's do this. What's this one? I'm going to send it to you. The thing is, it's a 5 hour and 21 minute stream, okay? And what's that? That's a bad idea. You do not. You want to join in at the 3 hour and 30 minute mark. You want to skip ahead, unless you want to watch the whole thing. But I don't think you want to do that. I don't have 5 hours to spend listening to a live stream. Perhaps you do. Keep going. I'm scrolling. I'm actually on there. Whole series of messages. Where is it? The Pop On Show. Oh, for F's sake. Oh, I blocked them. What did I block them for? What am I, a psycho? Yeah, I probably am. Oh, man. Judas, you're gonna make me dig for this. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm so clever. I'm such a master of all things technological. You just have to find a different way to do the same things, right? There's more than one way to skin a cat, as they say. Although I don't really think there's more than one way to skin a cat. November 21, back. Okay, full version. Now, if I click share, I'll copy to clipboard. All right. Where are we? All right. Check your inbox, Mr. Flychai. Check your inbox. Oh, by the way, you asked me to think about the. Who was I talking? I was on Norvin's stream. I was on Norvin's stream, and I was talking about the thing with the feather, like, because I used to work with a Jewish guy, and it's what is it? A Passover? It's like a Passover ritual where they say, "Oh, we have no food," and then you have to go to the house like with a feather, brushing everything to find one tiny fucking grain of food or something like that. It's a whole ritual that I'm sure you're familiar with, but it's a ritual. We suffered in the desert for 40 years of blah 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 blah, and we didn't have any food. That's why we have to let the goy cook for us. A lot of people that think they know like a lot of online people think they know Judaism, but they don't know Judaism from knowing Jews. Like it's all from the internet, and you don't always get the straight story. You don't always get an accurate picture of why they do what they do. You know what I mean? Now, what I think of that ritual, whatever, that is what it is. But the idea that what do you got? Okay, so you got the link. That's good. Again, start if you want to. I don't know if you want to watch the whole stream, but if you want to see when me and Norvin and everyone else come on, start at the 3 hour and 30 minute mark, and then like Norvin comes on, and then I go. I just go fucking ham on these people. It was pretty funny. I was intended to be funny. Like it was one of those days. Like I got home early. I got home early and I was streaming with Norvin for like an hour and a half or 2 hours. And I had one or two drinks. I didn't have that much alcohol. I had some. And then Norvin's like, "Oh, we're going over to whatever this stream." And it was kind of like the old days when you would go from stream to stream and, "Oh, this is the after party. Meet you over at so and so's place." And you had to know like all the channels back when YouTube was a little more free speechy before they started cracking down so heavy. But I didn't know who this other stream was, but Norvin sent me the link and blah, 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 blah. And then I went on. And then I did my Shecky the anti-Semite routine, which was pretty funny. If you judge by the way the hostess reacted to the stuff I was saying, it was pretty good. Yeah, but listen, a lot of stuff is going to break loose. You can't have black dudes walking around shooting ARs off in the middle of Minneapolis and the police not responding. You know what I mean? That's part of the crackdown on Twitter that Jack has left Twitter is because way too much stuff is going viral or nearly viral. Now, we don't know really how viral it's going. You see that, oh, this has been shared or retweeted 1,000 times or 3,000 times, maybe. But it could be 40,000 times. You don't know. And all these things, particularly with video, pardon me, Twitter saying, if you don't have written permission from the people in the video, we're going to cancel your account. The video, the still shot that I showed you of the dude with the AR, that's a video I retweeted. I don't know. I'm pretty sure I had written permission from the girl 100% before I retweeted that. But how are they going to enforce it? They're not going to. They're going to randomly enforce it, right? But it's about shutting down communication, right? It's about stopping people from sharing videos and news stories and whatever. And that is literally the exact opposite of what Twitter was set up to do. Now, to his credit, Jack Dorsey has just fucking left Twitter entirely to go work entirely on Bitcoin. By the way, did you notice that? Here's a guy who was top of his game, peak social media dude, rich. He's walking around with like the fucking knit cap. And all these rich guys walking around like they're wearing $6 worth of fucking clothes. And he's got some skinny girlfriend who smokes weed. And he just left it all to go work on Square, and they're going to do all this Bitcoin stuff. You know what I mean? So here's a guy who's looking at the future. Like he's in a very high position. And what does he decide to do in his life? Stick with the Twitter crowd or go towards this Bitcoin thing? And surprisingly, he's going towards this Bitcoin thing. It might surprise some people, but he's a guy who maybe understands that he made it to the top of the social media world, and he sees all just the bag of snakes built on fucking a fucking tower of lies and fucking floating on an ocean of bullshit, and thinks, no, I don't want to be here no more. You know what I mean? I have the money and the resources right now. I can get the fuck out. So I'm getting out while the getting's good. And Twitter's probably about to become an absolute fucking hellhole. Worse than it already is. Although, to be honest, the fucking amount of time I spend on Twitter, I don't know what I'm going to do with. Like, if I don't know what I'm going to do in the middle of the day without it. But we'll have to see. Anyway, Judas Fletcher in the chat. Yes, it's called Betty Cat Homets. Well, for what that's worth. We are now coming up on the 1 hour and 25 minute mark, where I have been talking uninterrupted for 85 minutes. And even though Judas Fletcher is the only guy in the chat, there were a whopping 3 people at one point three live viewers on this Monday night in December. But I'm going to call stream as this super smooth Equilux would always say. I will call stream. I want to say thanks for showing up, Judas Fly Chai. You can pop over to that pop on drink and chat and see me and Norvin and the crew do some anti-Semitisms, and hopefully you'll laugh because I was pretty funny. But I will say goodnight, and I'll talk to you guys again next week.